In the real estate game, everybody's playing for keeps. Welcome to my world.
Tonight on 2020, what happens when your real estate dreams cave in, literally? Houses swallowed by a sinkhole. Tonight, 7 families looking for new places to live. Homes with that sinking feeling. And the landlords looking to make a fortune. Their only hurdle, they need you out to flip the building. But did those landlords flip out?
What are you doing?
I own this building.
You think this only happens in the cartoons?
You're sawing my floor. You put a new hole in it.
Tonight, the 2020 exclusive, the couple called the Landlords from Hell. Then, the contractors who come in and flatten homes. What happens when they meant to tear down the house next door?
How do you tear down the wrong house?
And what did the homeowner get? And I'm sorry?
It happens more than you think.
Tonight, the fight to get the homewreckers to pay up. And yes, there's money in this fixer-upper, but this is ridiculous.
Whenever you see in the paper, great bones, that's code for hoarder.
We take you inside the hoarder houses. And is this real estate for real? Living in a tricked-out dumpster?
No rent, no mortgage, no property taxes.
A converted plane?
Welcome to my home.
Get ready for takeoff. 2020 Home Sweet Home starts now. Tonight, in much of this country, real estate is roaring back. Home prices up 13% in a year, buyers in bidding wars, families looking to flip a property for a profit. It looks easy on TV, but tonight, see what happens here when a couple so determined to flip their property, they'll do anything to get their tenants out. ABC's Chris Conley tonight on why they're now being called the Landlords from Hell.
Flipping homes for fun and profit. It's long been a popular investment strategy and a cable TV staple. But before buying your own flip-worthy walk-up, consider a man who went from this house to the big house.
What is it that you regret doing?
Well, all of it. I mainly regret having bought the building.
Long before 34-year-old Kip Macy was cooling his heels in county, he and his wife Nicole were famous in the real estate hotbed of By the Bay, San Francisco, because what they did in this building,
Plot from a horror movie.
Insane.
Menacing tenant. Terrorizing.
won them the title
The Landlords.
Landlords from Hell.
It's said this 3-story walk-up in a sketchy neighborhood had once housed a sex club. But under the Macy's, only the tenants got, well, you know. Kip, a keep-to-himself type who earned 6 figures in software, says the initial plan to flip the building was Nicole's. Step 1, buy apartment building. Step 2, evict the tenants legally. Step 3, sell the apartments as condos. Step 4, pocket a quick $200,000 profit.
I was hesitant, but she assured me it wouldn't be that risky.
Oh, but it was. Just ask real estate expert Barbara Corcoran.
The Macy's started off as very naive, thinking they could just flip this building and make a fortune. But guess what? Then reality hit. It's called a tenant.
A tenant like the guy in apartment 4, camera-shy yet tech-friendly Scott Morrow, who recorded the Macy's and played the city's tenant-friendly housing laws like a Stradivarius.
Tenants are almost impossible to move today if they don't want to move.
We're the owners of the property, Scott.
You don't have a permit to do any work here at all.
Basically, Scott was sort of the one breaking point.
You wanted to kick out on your ass, and when I kicked that dirtbag.
You got mad at some point.
Probably. And that's when we started making bad decisions.
Instead of flipping the building, Kip and Nicole flipped their lids, declaring war on their tenants.
Hey,
What are you doing?
I own this place. I own that land. I own this building.
Cutting phone lines and shutting off power? Slumlord 101. But here's Kip burglarizing an apartment occupied by 3 tenants while being photographed through a peephole. Cutting edge, right?
I regret having moved the Mexican stuff in the hallway.
The Macy's drenched the rest of the 3 tenants' stuff in ammonia.
He said, you know what? This is my building. I can do whatever I want. This is my property.
Building manager Ricardo Cartagena treasured his artwork and found it trash when the Macy's ransacked his place.
They don't care, like Katrina was in my apartment. Everything destroyed.
Why did you take stuff out of Ricardo's apartment?
Because it was garbage.
Then there were the menacing phone messages.
We're coming to help you. Get out of the building or bad is going to happen to you.
Could it get uglier? Well, the Macy's did purchase a handgun.
He called me, Ricardo, if you come to the building, my wife bought a gun and we will shoot you. This is serious.
Did you threaten to shoot him if he came back on the property?
No, I threatened to shoot him if he attacked my wife.
Had he ever attacked your wife?
He had never attacked her, no.
The Macy's did attack the building. Nicole asked an inspector what support beams they could cut to make the building unlivable. San Francisco District Attorney George Gascon.
This has got to go on the books as the dumbest criminals there are. They used a power saw, they tried to cut some of the support beams right underneath the floor.
See all those cuts in the beams? Kip and Nicole were sabotaging their own $1 million property.
I don't understand why you were doing it.
We didn't either at this point.
When there's enough potential profit in a building, the tactics escalate because the landlord wants to get his hands on that money.
I was in the hallway and I hear screaming, stop, stop, stop. I called the police, stop.
It was a handsaw coming up through the floorboards of apartment 4.
There's sawing my floor. They put a new hole in it.
This looks like right out of a cartoon. Literally, you can see the blade going through the wooden floor.
I'm guessing that's not legal.
No, to say the least. If anybody was going to make a movie about a problem between landlords and tenants, this would be a perfect script.
The DA's office rolled the credits on the Macy's reign of terror, charging them with a fistful of felonies. The case aided by shocking boasts that Kip had made on the internet. I will be demolishing his unit while he is living in it. I slammed him against the wall.
We harassed him a bit because we no longer had anything to lose. He had parts of his floor cut out from underneath, also illegal, but whatever. Whatever? Breaking the law? Whatever?
We felt like the law had abandoned us.
Kip and Nicole were held on big-time bail, $500,000. To spring them, Kip's parents dug deep. His mother, Marie, a VA nurse, sold her jewelry. But the couple fretted that their freedom would be short-lived.
It just seemed like the vice grip of the system was just closing in upon us.
So in June 2010, Kip and Nicole skipped bail and vanished.
Did you say to your wife, we can't leave because my parents will be out $500,000?
No, I didn't.
Totally oblivious to the enormous difficulties that would put us in.
Kip had messed with the wrong mother. Marie reached out to Jerry Ito Campana and Ron Lee, bail agents and bounty hunters for 30 years.
I found out that the passports were used to exit the United States.
Gumshoe work by Jerry and Ron would produce the break they desperately needed, someone with inside info on the couple's whereabouts.
And they gave us a street.
A street where?
Florence.
Florence, Italy, a romantic city swarming with American tourists, the perfect hideaway for Kip and Nicole. But Ron vowed to track them down.
I had mugshots of them, and I stared at them. When I was shaving, I took them into the bathroom and just kept staring at them.
After 3 fruitless days on stakeout in Florence, Ron's attention wandered to the unlikeliest of Italian sights, a Chinese restaurant.
I see this sign that says Chinatown. I said, hey, I got to have a picture of this. And then as I got there, I looked up, and there they were.
And I said, oh my God.
Kip and Nicole might have been on the lam, but they had made no attempt to transform their appearance.
They had no clue that we're coming after them. They thought they were home free.
The next day, Marie pushed open this door and stood face-to-face at last with her fugitive son. A big hug was not on the menu.
What did you see on his face when you looked at him?
He was kind of horrified. He said, well, I'm impressed.
You look mad.
Yeah, probably.
At your mother?
Yeah.
Whose money you had used to get out of jail?
And I just saw her as sort of representing the state, which was trying to take me down.
Kip and Nicole were eventually taken into custody and returned to the U.S. But Kip's mother's aim was to get her money back. And to her shock, the DAs and courts stiffed her, she says.
I mean, we were robbed by the courts.
They fled the jurisdiction, they fled the nation. And that's really what the bottom line is.
It's the judgment and sentence of the
Nicole and Kip were sentenced to 4 years and 4 months. Still married, during sentencing, they barely looked at each other. Their real estate dream lost to foreclosure. As he sits in stir, Kip thinks, not about the tenant terrorizing he pled guilty to,
They're sawing my floor.
but about that lost $500,000 and his hopes to pay his parents back.
And $100,000 a year over 5 years.
You're going to give him $100,000 a year.
If I can.
People ask me, am I angry with Kip? And I said, no, they're just really sad.
Obviously, we're both sort of ashamed of being here. It's a difficult juncture.
You're the landlords from hell.
That's what they say, yeah.
We want to know what you think tonight. Do those landlords deserve their new address? Let us know on Twitter. Use the hashtag ABC2020. Don't go away tonight. Coming up next here, the home wreckers sent to demolish the home next door. But what happens when they tear down your home instead? And all you get is an oops?
Still ahead, your home reduced to rubble.
It's totally gone.
The government meant to tear down your neighbor.
You can't unring the bell at this point.
And talk about a tough sell. Hoarder houses.
This is not rice.
We're going to turn now to the home wreckers, but not what you might think. These are the crews hired to flatten homes, make way for new ones. But what happens when they get the address wrong and knock down your home instead? Tonight, ABC's Jim Avila on the fight playing out right now. Should these home wreckers have to pay up for their mistake? You'd be surprised.
The new dining room will have a straight out view.
It was supposed to be the retirement home of their dreams.
We can decide if we want to put a fireplace out there or not.
Soon to be empty nesters, David and Valerie Underwood had a grand plan to fix up this Fort Worth house and move in. It had been David's grandmother's, a gathering place for family holidays filled with cherished memories.
That's the first third-generation Christmas we've had there.
Oh, yeah.
Then last summer, after hiring architects and builders, the Underwoods drove by to check out the condition of their lawn.
I've got a little mowing and weeding and edging to do.
But then a shocking discovery. Something was missing.
And right about here, she taps me and goes, David, the house is gone. It's totally gone. It was surreal.
That's right. The lakeside view was intact, but the 1,200 square foot home, gone. Where are we kind of standing right here?
This was the garage. The living room was right over there. The bedrooms were back on that edge of the house. That was the patio.
How on earth could a house just vanish into thin air? Believe it or not, the city had bulldozed it by mistake. They even took pictures of their handiwork.
I was just shocked. I'm like, how do you tear down the wrong house?
The Underwoods house is 9716, marked on their mailbox. The one the city was supposed to demolish was next door at 9708. But somehow the brain trust at City Hall managed to mess that up.
In today's world of GPS, when you can spot something the size of a nickel, I would think that there would be a fail-safe.
A one-time occurrence? Actually, no, according to Barbara Corcoran.
It happens more than you think. You could probably find at least one home wrecked in just about every city across the United States by mistake.
Demolishing the wrong house is actually hard to do, according to New Jersey contractor Lou Santora.
It's basically just completing a mountain of paperwork. Letters from your asbestos company, the gas company, the water company. If you're a competent contractor, things like this shouldn't happen.
That small comfort to Andre Hall, he figured he had the wrong address when he saw a backhoe tearing down a house.
I was like, oh, somebody's house getting knocked down, it can't be mine. I drove around the block and came back, and it was my house. I was just in shock.
He had poured his heart and soul into fixing up the Pittsburgh house, prepping it so his 3 daughters could move from living with their mom out of state to be with him.
I put new glass, put new frames, new windows. I did everything I had to do to get this house right.
He even painted his daughters' rooms. There's no place like home, and now for Hall, that's way too true, because there's no home, period.
It's gone now. It ain't nothing but an open lot.
Hall hit rock bottom, and today he lives in an apartment without his daughters.
Nobody wants to take the blame. The contractor points the finger at the city points the finger at the contractor.
You would think when your house gets bulldozed by mistake, you'd get compensated, and quickly, but you'd be wrong. Jesse Vernon is a good example. Here are pictures of his Little Rock house being demolished last year. The city-hired contractor admitted to a local TV station that he made a big bulldozer blunder.
There were two houses side by side, and I didn't look close enough to figure out which is which.
But adding insult to injury, Vernon has not been paid, neither by the city nor the contractor. And listen to this bold reasoning from the contractor's attorney. He says they did Vernon a favor.
I think Mr. Vernon actually benefited from what my client did. And
You knocked down the wrong house?
I know it sounds, oh, you knocked down the wrong house. That sounds terrible.
Well, if it was your house, you would think it was
surely,
terrible.
Surely. But the city had told Mr. Vernon months before this to fix this house up or to demolish it. My client just hastened what was probably inevitable.
But that's not your client's decision to make.
You can't unring the bell at this point.
But Vernon says he was planning to repair the house to rent it out. Vernon went to a city council meeting to try to get justice.
Good evening. I'm Jesse Vernon. And
no luck.
Mr. Vernon's interest and the city's interest at this juncture are not aligned.
File that under legal talk for Sorry Chump. We had to ask a few questions.
Is it really not your fault? You have no responsibility for this? The people you hired knocked down the wrong house.
Yeah, the people we hired didn't do what we hired them to do. No, I don't think that we have a legal responsibility for that.
So if I hired somebody to knock down my porch, and they knocked down my neighbor's porch, don't you think my neighbor's going to come after me, not just the guy who knocked down the porch?
Well, I think so, but you don't have immunity from negligence actions as local governments do.
Wait, come again?
You don't have immunity from negligence actions as local governments do.
If you would do that, Mr. Vernon.
You heard right. Some local governments are off the hook from lawsuits. So if they hire a bungling backhoe that happens to flatten your home sweet home, you're on your own. Where does that leave Vernon? The city advised him to sue the errant contractor.
it would cost me money to sue. And I shouldn't have to pay a dime. And all I've heard is talk.
Back in Fort Worth, talk is all David Underwood has been hearing too, even though the city admitted they made the error. In a statement to 2020, they said they have reviewed city policies and procedures and added a series of additional checks. But they still haven't paid a check to the Underwoods.
You must be a little ticked off by now, right?
Frustration's growing.
Especially since for the years that the city was collecting taxes on the house before it was demolished, it was appraised for $82,000. But now that the city might have to pay for the wrecked house, there's a new appraisal for just $25 grand.
You can't buy a car for that, much as a house,
right? We wanted to ask the city about that, and since they wouldn't talk to us on camera, we went straight to City Hall to confront Underwood's councilman.
I'm Jim Avila from ABC News 2020.
Nice to meet you, Jim.
Are you disappointed at all that the city has not come forward when they admitted they made the mistake?
We are going to settle with this gentleman, but there has been some discourse over total settlement value, and that's where it's at right now.
Has the assessment been reduced in order to pay him a lower amount?
No, absolutely not.
The Underwoods still hope they can salvage their dream house, rebuild, but the memories they had, those have been demolished.
And so what is left of your dream at this point?
It's a new dream. It's a new vision. We're going to have to build a totally new house now. There's not going to be that tie to my childhood. It did mean something to me. Obviously, if I'd want it torn down, I'd have torn it down.
A lot of fingers being pointed in this one. So who should pay? The contractor or the town that hired them? Weigh in on Twitter. Use the hashtag ABC2020. When we come back here tonight, the story right from the headlines, the homes disappearing right under their feet. The dramatic new pictures, how to know if your home is sitting on a sinkhole. You've got to see this.
Watch what a sinkhole does to a stand of trees.
Hey, move it, John. Yep, I got it.
It did it yesterday to a whole neighborhood.
We're asking everyone to stay in place, except for the homes that we have evacuated.
I thought maybe it was someone trying to break in.
No, it was their house being sucked into the ground. When we come back.
We've all heard it before in real estate: location, location, location. But what happens when that location disappears under your feet into a massive sinkhole? Tonight, the real estate nightmare playing out in one American neighborhood. 7 families suddenly looking for a new place to live tonight. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez on that sinking feeling.
Welcome to sunny Florida, the sinkhole capital of the nation, a hole that can bury you financially or bury you forever.
I told everybody to get out, and while we were putting our clothes halfway in the house, halfway out of the house, called 911.
How far is it sinking? It's just cracking. The whole house and the floors are cracked.
This is what's left of the Dupree family home after a sinkhole made a house call yesterday.
Really loud, and I thought maybe it was someone trying to break in.
No one was breaking in. It was the family home breaking up. First, the porch and the brand new boat devoured by the earth. Today, a demolition crew took care of the rest, pushing the remains into the sinkhole, reducing what housed 5 years of Dupree family memories to dust. Later this weekend, it will also be filled in with sand.
That's Florida is all about, is going to a theme park and doing the disaster rides where we got it all live here.
The Dupree family says they knew the sinkhole was here years ago, but were fighting with their insurance company on exactly how to fix it. The Duprees aren't alone. This homeowner has been living with the danger of a potential sinkhole on his property while he slugs it out with his insurance company on how to proceed.
We're in a dangerous situation.
Definitely.
And it's been for the past 3 years.
We can get up in the morning and notice that crack's bigger. I mean, all of a sudden, it's gotten larger.
The non-action can lead to a form of real estate roulette, where every day could turn to drama.
This entire area in our home can fall into the earth.
Could just collapse.
With us in it.
The bedroom floor just collapsed and my brother-in-law is in there. He's underneath the house.
An enormous sinkhole swallows a family's home.
But the fallout isn't just financial, sometimes it's deadly. Back in February, a Seffner, Florida man was killed when a massive hole opened up under his family's home. Without warning, the ground gave way and swallowed the 37-year-old. His furniture, clothes, and everything else the sinkhole could fit in its giant mouth.
The hole just opened up and swallowed my brother's bed.
The victim's brother went into that same darkness and lived to tell about it.
I was in that hole myself. I didn't care. The hole was still growing as I was in the hole. The concrete was still falling as I was in the hole. I didn't care. I really didn't.
This man here is going to have to live the rest of his life seeing himself in that hole and hearing his brother scream his name. That's his last words, is calling his brother's name.
The damage was a shock to first responders as well.
Never in my life have I seen anything like that.
The man became the 3rd sinkhole fatality in Florida. Carla Chapman was barely able to avoid the same fate. In 2011, the Plant City woman fell in a sinkhole in her own backyard, but managed to call 911 from her cell phone.
911 emergency, do you please fire ambulance? You're in the ground?
About the only thing unexpected in this week's drama was that the damage happened outside the so-called sinkhole season, which runs from around February through the end of the summer. Sinkholes form when limestone, which is porous, is eaten away by water. The land above it, now without the support of the limestone, can dramatically give way at any moment. To get a closer look at a sinkhole, we went inside one with geologist Anthony Randazzo. Here at the Devil's Den Scuba Diving Resort near Gainesville, people don't fall in a sinkhole, they take the stairs.
You're in a major cavern system here.
And when you're looking at this, you're saying it's a lot like that Seffner home.
Yes, with the surface expression being very small, a diameter of 20-25 feet for the sinkhole. But in the subsurface, much wider, much deeper.
Down in this diver's paradise, the terror many associate with sinkholes is replaced by tranquility. But the question they're asking above ground remains the same. Do you think any recovery effort would have been successful?
No, I think it would have been fruitless, unfortunately.
One man's misery is another man's opportunity. Enter the sinkhole guy.
So Taylor, there's actually sinkhole activity
beneath this home.
That's correct. It was identified by the engineers that the soils are very unstable below this home.
Taylor Yarkowski is a contractor, and during sinkhole season, he's busy, very busy.
How many of these do you do each month?
We underpin anywhere from 30 to 40 homes in a month, average.
The process involves a series of metal rods and a concrete-like mixture that brackets the home to more solid footing. But peace of mind does not come cheap.
This process, depending on the size of the home, can range anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 per home.
Experts say a home with a sinkhole problem can lose 80% of its value.
Simply because home buyers are afraid to buy in the area. Fear is the worst enemy of real estate value.
Barbara Corcoran. Real estate shark Barbara Corcoran says just the stigma of having a sinkhole property in your neighborhood is enough to drive property values down.
It could reduce the value of your home by a third, even 40, 50%.
Yesterday, Michael Dupree tried to recover the value of something far more significant. He asked firefighters if his wedding ring could be retrieved from his home. A firefighter did manage to find the ring on a desk.
They went in all buckled up and broke in the window from the back before it came down and grabbed it and got it from me.
And not a moment too soon.
I mean, it's amazing. We never thought that it could be so devastating.
Hoarder houses. Get them cheap, if you can even get inside.
We don't just have a hoarder house here today, we have a hoarder yard.
Push it in the pool. Dump everything in the pool and put dirt on top.
Take an unforgettable tour of the ultimate real estate challenge.
The smell is almost indescribable.
That's next.
It's Real Estate 101. Buy the worst house on the block, fix it up, and you could make a mint. But what happens when you open that front door and have no place to step? ABC's Cecilia Vega takes a deep breath tonight and steps into the ultimate real estate makeover when you buy a hoarder house.
Something's rotten in some of the most desirable neighborhoods in Southern California.
We don't just have a hoarder house here today, we have a hoarder yard.
Hoarding. It's a problem guaranteed to send even the most eager house hunter running for the hills.
When I first walked the property, I had a path through there, but now that's not even there anymore.
Whenever you see in a paper Great Bones, that's code for hoarder.
Real estate mogul Barbara Corcoran.
Listen, when you're a real estate broker and you find yourself about to get a listing owned by a hoarder, it's your worst nightmare. Hard to sell, hard to advertise, impossible to show.
So we're not even in the kitchen, right? We're on top of the kitchen.
But Mission Impossible just happens to be right in Roger Faulkner's sweet spot.
I'm looking for the worst house on the block. So if your house is in disrepair, it's cluttered up, I'm looking for your house. That's how I'm going to make money.
He's a developer who specializes in real estate rehab, and he just made a screaming deal on a house that would leave most buyers just screaming.
Oh my God, no one lived here. Come on, this can't be real. This is a tear down. Push it in the pool. Dump everything in the pool and put dirt on top. That's what I would do here.
But Roger ran the comps and found similar clean houses selling for up to $500,000. For him, there's treasure in this trash.
We picked this house up around $320,000. We're going to, a minimum, have to put $75,000 to fix this house and bring it up to code. And then on the resale, it's around $475,000.
Faulkner says he'll take it down to the bones, replacing everything but the studs and the roof.
You could say, oh my God, my biggest thing is that people were living here and I feel sorry for them.
I'm gonna head for the back bedroom off to the right here.
This is Kira. Somehow she, her daughter, and ailing mother called this home.
You hear this word hoarding thrown around, and you don't really think that that's what you're doing. You think it's collections of this or collections of that.
She blames both her and her mom's lifelong struggles with depression and other health problems for their inability to stop accumulating stuff.
It kept growing and growing and growing, and I didn't want to admit that I had anything to do with it.
They didn't want to sell, but impending foreclosure left them with no choice. Still, Kira can't let go.
No, it's only been a week and a half. So it's a fresh, sorry.
It's typical for hoarders to want to stay in their homes, living amid the fire hazards and the biohazards.
You can't understand the smells that I've smelled.
And that's a major problem for Darren Johnson, a fire inspector in Orange County.
Some type of mold. Not sure what it is.
He's part of a hoarding task force.
This is not rice. He's got rodents running everywhere. Yeah, that mousetrap has got a dead mouse on it, but
Stop!
We receive probably 8 to 10 cases a month. Orange County Fire Inspector.
Just look what Darren found here behind the lush gardens and beautifully appointed exteriors of an upscale townhouse community.
I don't consider myself a hoarder.
Meet 72-year-old Nancy. She lives amid decades of dust, cobwebs, and, to put it mildly, clutter. Her kitchen has everything from last night's Chardonnay to, well, we don't even want to go there.
What do you consider yourself? I consider myself the grand poobah of Procrastinators Club. I'd look at it and go, oh, I'll do that tomorrow.
Her bed is like the rest of this room, piled high with letters, bills, and clippings from really old newspapers and magazines. She's kept this one since 1981.
Magnum PI was big back then. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We asked hoarder homebuyer Roger Faulkner to tour Nancy's neighborhood, look at photos of the worst of her hoarding, and do the numbers.
Full value of this is $500,000, but without getting inside, I'm going to have to do a gut shot and say $350,000.
And the worst part about it is you feel so badly for the homeowner because you know they're never going to get as much money out of that home as if they could possibly clean up.
Nancy says her home is not for sale, though the choice isn't all hers. Inspector Johnson could nail a red tag on her door right now, and she'd have 30 days to move out or sell. But that's not his style.
Writing a ticket, red tagging a house, kicking them out of their own house, that's not success. I'll state it, over and over. We really, really need you to pick up the pace.
He charms, cajoles, and warns Nancy. He'll be back in a month, expecting the combustible clutter to be gone.
It sounds like you're saying that Nancy is a tough case.
Nancy has been a very tough case.
In Nancy's case, counseling and Inspector Johnson's gentle nudges seem to have made a noticeable difference. It's been a month since he's seen her place.
Hi, Nancy. Holy cow. Oh, you could not walk in this room whatsoever. This looks great, Nancy.
Yeah.
It's a room.
I know. I can actually get to my desk.
Hello. Are you Nancy?
Yes, I am.
But will Nancy's home improvements make a difference in Roger's earlier estimate?
But without getting inside, I'm going to have to do a gut shot and say $350,000.
Apparently not much.
Your property's worth, in my mind, around $360,000 in its current condition.
She absorbs the raw truth, but Nancy isn't selling.
Are you interested in selling to me today?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
Because she has a dream.
So what's next for you, Nancy? If I come back in 6 months, what am I going to see?
I might not be there yet, but my aim is house beautiful.
Or at least not house horrible. Down in San Diego, Kira's deal meant she had to hand over the keys without taking the time to move everything out. Still, she's grateful to have found Roger, a buyer crazy enough to take on the mother of all fixer-uppers.
I'm hopefully the solution for everybody. I can come and buy this property, I can rehabilitate it and sell it to a nice family. I can bring the values of the community up.
For her part, Kira gets a fresh start, relocating to another state.
I figure I'm going to come out on the other side, a bit beaten and weathered, but I'm going to come out of it.
Next, could this real estate be real?
Welcome to my home.
A plane becomes his cottage in the woods? Yes, there's a shower. Or how's this for a small apartment? Pimp my dumpster?
Well, it's probably the nicest garbage can in the world.
Cuckoo, cuckoo. You live where? When we come back.
Everyone wants their home to have a personal touch. That's why we call it Home Sweet Home. But what happens when that home is unlike anything you've seen before? ABC's Nick Watt was invited over and wasn't the first to ask, you live where?
If you fly over these woods today, you're sure of a big surprise.
Bruce?
No, it's not a plane crash.
Hi. Hi.
It's,
Welcome to my home.
It's Bruce Campbell's house.
How do I get in? Why didn't you just build yourself a nice little log cabin or something? I mean, I've got to say, driving up in the car, I couldn't help but burst out laughing.
It is different. I'm an engineer and I love toys, and this is a good, big toy.
This was once a perfectly normal Greek passenger jet, Olympic Airlines, until Campbell, a pleasantly eccentric electrical engineer, bought her for $100,000, flew her to Oregon, where a house mover inched her into her new forest home.
I mean, you've gone for the kind of open plan feel.
Yeah.
Works.
I'm single. I don't need walls. They just get in the way.
Where Campbell has rigged up the toilet, so it works on the ground.
It flushes.
Oh, yes. And the shower. Well, that's a custom edition. Campbell, who is still remodeling, right now sleeps in what was Coach on a fold-out couch.
So at night, do you have to put down every window shade?
No, I don't worry. The squirrels don't complain.
Guests can recline on the original aircraft seats and enjoy the totally disconcerting view out of Campbell's front window.
To me, that's the view that the pilot is going to see just before he dies. Out onto the deck.
And for outdoor fun?
Nice bit of outside space.
Well, there's this.
There's a lot of gear.
Have you ever bounced on an aircraft's
like
wing?
A normal airplane.
Yes.
Do you think this is going to catch on?
Well, I do. I really do. And I'm disappointed that it hasn't caught on already.
Aircraft are decommissioned every day and mostly consigned to the boneyards. Campbell thinks we should all live in them. He does. Would you? Okay, if not a plane, what about this? Would you live in a trash can? We're in Brooklyn, and here we have a drab green dumpster on the outside. Inside, holy smokes if it isn't a fully functioning home. Greg Klein, an artist from California, turns into Top Cat when he's in the Big Apple for work. He lives in a garbage can.
It was just an idea that hit me all of a sudden.
It's his Brooklyn pied-à-terre.
Got all my socks, underwear, shirts. I have a lot of bedding in here, pillows, blankets. Here's the refrigerator, which is just a cooler with ice.
And what if his wife comes with him?
She was just down here for a week. We stayed in the dumpster together.
The place is just 6 by 6 by 5.5 feet.
You can go diagonal and still stretch out.
Yep, I know what you're wondering, and here's your answer.
We have the toilet. It's kind of a marine-grade toilet, one you would find in a boat.
And if you look closely, you can actually see the sidewalk. The empty dumpster cost $900, brand new, no garbage smell, and Klein spent another $2.5 grand pimping her up. Granite countertop, gleaming grill, roof terrace, and yes, like Campbell, Mr. Klein also jerry-rigged a working shower. If you don't mind strangers catching a glimpse.
Just flash that guy.
Total cost, $3.5 grand, which is like a month's rent on a one-bedroom apartment here in hipster Nirvana.
No rent, no mortgage, no property taxes.
And you can park it pretty much anywhere. No one bats an eyelid at a dumpster. No one would ever imagine it's actually a house hiding in plain sight.
Well, it's probably the nicest garbage can in the world.
Yep, it probably is. And is this, on Bainbridge Island, Washington State, the nicest treehouse in the world? It looks like a cuckoo clock. Cuckoo, cuckoo. But inside is the most ridiculous treehouse I have ever seen. The fairy tale brainchild of Heidi Danilchik.
First off, I have a lot of wonderful friends and relatives, and they were getting tired of my couch. So I needed a place, a guest house.
She got one. Inspired by the Swiss chalets of her childhood vacations, this place sleeps 4. And I'm talking 4 adults.
Hot and cold running water, gas fireplace.
It's not your apple crate in the branches treehouse in grandma's backyard. This is a tricked out house in a tree with a china hutch and killer views. All built by Treehouse Workshop. That's Pete Nelson's company. He's the star of the Animal Planet series, Treehouse Masters.
I'm Pete Nelson, the Treehouse Man.
And here's the bad news. Nelson says a fat treehouse will cost you at least 100 grand.
I feel bad throwing around 100 grand like that, but that's kind of like where I'm finding we're mostly in that range to start with.
Right,
and it goes
right.
up from there. It's terrible.
Nelson has built tree houses costing up to $500,000.
Was your husband 100% supportive during the entire process?
My husband was away at work.
My, oh my, that's a shock to come home to. A £50,000 treehouse, looking like something out of Lord of the Rings.
It doesn't harm the tree at all.
No, the tree, I tell you, the tree likes it. I think they do. I like it.
And that's our program for tonight. I'm David Muir. For Elizabeth and all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, thanks for watching. I'll see you here this weekend. Good night.